Hello and welcome to another episode of Steps to Success, starring actress Claire Foy. In the last episode, we learned about how she is a team player and the importance of being a team player, about some of her internships and some of her shows, among other things. This time, we're learning about how to create a character, finding her motivation, and her future plans. So how do you interpret a character?
Well, I do a first read through, and I don't overthink it too much. I just sort of read it, because I think part of what people are looking for is bringing yourself to the character, because otherwise that's what makes it unique.
Right.
So I just sort of read it and what seems intuitive to me at first, and then I start building up, backstory for this character. Where are they coming from? What's, what are the key events that have happened before this scene or before this show, or what are the relationships between them and everyone else? And you just sort of slowly start building the world, and let that inform you as you go.
And for an example, when I met you in the Brimstone Guild, your character had a pretty much almost non-existent relationship with her dad.
Right.
And I think that probably drove the whole character.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that character very much was not able to connect to people, and so she would use humor or sarcasm to push people away, and that I think all comes from her not having a parent really to. I guess she had her mom, but her dad, I think that comes from the relationship with her dad, not wanting to connect to people so she doesn't get hurt.
Right. A lot of people have that problem.
Yeah.
Regardless of. Yeah. And do you find your own motivation? And I'm asking this because, the famous line of an actress, cliche line is, "What's my motivation?"
Oh,
I don't think it's true all the time.
I think it depends. I think yes, generally, but I don't necessarily always have to spell it out like that. I don't have to say my motivation for this scene is but sometimes you know what you're after in the scene, and so that's sort of a useful thing to have your sights on. But sometimes if I'm really struggling with this, I think when I'm struggling with scenes that I go through, I'm okay, what am I doing? What am I trying to do with each of these lines? And why am I saying this? What's the goal here? What's my tactic that I'm using to get my goal? That's I think a really useful way to break a script down, especially if you're having trouble with it. Because there are some scenes where you'll change tactics a lot, but your goal might stay the same, and that's sort of, you have to note that. You have to notice that the script is doing that. But there are some scenes, I mean, there definitely exist scenes where your tactic and your goal are kind of the same for a little while, or maybe they change more later, and sometimes your goals will change throughout the scene. So just sort of thinking about all of that is useful, I think. Or your objective is useful, but I don't always necessarily literally write it out. I think it depends on the character in the show. Yeah.
It's more in the moment.
Yeah, or sometimes I'm just sort of you'll read the script and you're oh, I know what's going on here. And sometimes you're what is going on here? And then you go through and you're okay, write this out. Yeah.
What I learned from writing scripts, there's a school of thought where they say there are two types of scripts. You were talking about the motivation through line, which is basically, it's Fast and Furious, it's Rocky, it's wrong, and the other one is a time lock.
Interesting.
And the time lock would be an end of the world scenario, or trying to stop the bomb from going off.
Oh, you have a time limit to do it?
That's time lock.
I've never heard that.
Well, it's a script writer thing in me.
Oh, I see. For script writing.
But it also translates into something you should know, because once you know what
The time log
the
goes.
time log is or a event log through, then it's might be easier for you to read, okay, this is the type of script, and it's so it's gonna have different goals in the time log, but the same ending, or with the other type of event log, it's going to have always going after the bad guy.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
What do you want to do in the future?
Well, I have a year left here, and then I'm gonna probably just go to New York, see what
Right.
happens, and then I might apply to grad school for acting later, a little bit down the line. But I want to have at least a year in New York, just like trying things before I do that. I think I've gotten that advice from everyone who's been in grad school, because
Yeah.
they say that, like, you know, you want the perspective of like what it's like before you go in.
Right.
And then people who go right out of college just don't quite have that. They don't know themselves as well. They don't know what they're getting into. And then it's really hard for them when they graduate grad school, because they like don't know what to expect, and they've done this for like 3 years. So yeah.
So something like Pace University, actor studio type of thing, that's what you might be looking at if you were going to grad school.
You like a conservatory, like a master's,
Yeah,
a master's
right.
degree. Yeah. I mean, I think I'd probably look. I mean, I'd look at like NYU, because I'd be in New York and that'd be nice. Or like, I would probably like apply, if I were to apply to grad school, I would apply to like the big ones, you know, like NYU, Juilliard, Yale,
Yale.
and sort of just like hedge my bets, see what happens. You know what I mean? And it's extremely unlikely that you get into any one of those. And then like you can apply to a couple others, but there's sort of like, there's also as far as I can tell, there's some sort of like cost benefit thing going on here with like, there are certain grad schools that really push you up, and sort of like you get more doors are open for you by
Right.
going to them. And then like there's a certain threshold where like you might do better off to just keep auditioning for those years than
Yeah.
to like go and then, so it's like you want to go to the ones that are going to give you the best connections, I think. And so I'm not, I don't really know exactly what it is. I haven't looked into it too much, but if I were to apply, I would start thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like which ones would be most helpful for me.
Well, I think that's a college question overall, because definitely Dartmouth opens more doors than some other universities.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the Ivy Leagues have like a network kind of,
Yeah.
which is, it is what it is, but it does
Yeah.
open doors.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, my cousin just graduated from NYU Masters
Oh, okay.
in theater.
Yeah.
She's a playwright.
Oh, cool. That's really cool.
So it can happen.
It can, yeah, it can, certainly.
What advice do you have for people who want to do what you've done?
What, go to college for theater?
Advice, well, anything about theater, or
I don't know. I think it depends on the person, really. Probably like if you really want to do it and you like it enough, then like you have to put in the work. I think that's something that like people don't quite appreciate until like later on in their career at college sometimes. But like you put in a lot of work to get better at theater, I think, and to do it. And like if you don't commit to it, you'll never really get the most out of anything you do. And so like if you're serious about it, then I think you have to throw yourself into it fully. You can't really like go halfway.
okay, and I would like to add that doing internships is good, because
Sure.
it gives you an
Yeah.
insight at what it really is about,
Oh yeah, like the internship I did in the fall.
which was
I worked at Northern Stage,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was like, yeah, that was incredibly useful. Because I worked in the admin office for a long time, and then I went to New York and I worked off Broadway in wardrobe for the show that was going there, and then I came back and I acted in one of their shows. So like it was a great 3-part internship kind of, but so you got like all the facets of the world kind of. You got the like organizational stuff that goes behind it and like all the work that gets put into running a theater, which is immense, and then you get like the backstage work, and then it's like the acting side. And then in the winter I did more admin work, and so you just sort of you learn how it all works. You learn how the world works I have a much clearer vision of how the theater world works
And your
now,
place in it.
but still not a full one. What?
And your place in it. You now know more about how the world works, and so that better informs you about what part you want to play in that microcosm.
Yeah. I mean, so far I've tried a lot of things. I've tried, wardrobe work. I've tried, like tech work, like whiteboard op. I've been a stage manager. I've worked admin. I've done acting, and I think and directing. I've done directing. So like I've sort of like done a lot of things, and acting has still been my clear favorite. So that's a good thing to know. To do all those things, and like then you can be more confident in your choice that like this is what you want to do.
And I think even with that, it also informs you that it would be okay to work in the office, but after work I'm going to go and pursue indie film roles, or I'm going to pursue this, that, the other thing, so I can just transition from this job that's okay to this job that I really want.
Right.
Okay. Do you have a reason to be?
I don't know that I do. I think it's people, really. I think it's like my favorite people to interact with. And a lot of those people are in the theater world, which is why I do theater. That's really what it came down to. I realized when I came back to theater in high school, I was like, oh yeah, I love the people who do this. And then in college, it was the same. And I was just sort of like, these are the people I'm happiest around. And then like, it also happens to be something I really like to do. I think it's the people in theater, because like, I did theater in high school. Well, I stopped doing theater, then I came back, and I realized like I had so many more friends my senior year of high school than I did throughout all my freshman through junior year, because the theater people were like my favorite people to hang out with. And I just had so much fun. And then I moved to college, and I found the same thing to be true. I didn't do theater freshman fall. I didn't really have any friends. And then I joined theater freshman winter, and it just sort of, the community really pulled me in. And that's sort of what I realized, that like the collaboration with the type of people who do theater has been my favorite part of it. And also is one of my favorite things to do. Like that's why I want to do it, because I can't imagine not having that community and like still having fun.
Yeah, and so it's nothing to do with sports people. It's just the theater people are different in that they are just so intense on what they need to accomplish that it's just, that's what they do. They're for people who are really focused and intense and positive and.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And it's addicting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sports has a different coming together of fun, but it's just not like everything in the world.
Yeah.
And that's why Shakespeare probably created his theater, named it the Grove, because he knew that theater people are like, everything is theater.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like at Shakespeare's time, it was like theater was a different world,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe.
It was a very different enterprise, I think, to take on.
It was almost more subversive.
I don't know. I think it depends on what you do with it. But like in some ways, it's more classical. Like you just sort of like the way you speak the text was different.
And even the way we speak the text is not the way he would have spoken, I don't think.
No, it's not. Like it used to be more stylized, and then it kind of transitioned over time to be more naturalistic. It would have been much more stylized. It would have been only men playing the roles.
Yeah, that's
it was legal for women to act until a bit later.
And that's why he always put in jokes like, I think my beard is going in.
Yeah, he definitely does jokes like that. Yeah.
As a young guy, just saying, I don't want to be a female anymore. You know.
Or like gesturing to the disguise or whatever. I don't know, it depends on what's going on, yeah.
And that's why a lot of his scripts have kind of gender bending people pretending to be male and female.
Yeah, it's interesting. He has like devices that he uses over and over again. You know, there's like the shipwreck device, which happens a couple times. There's like cross-dressing in order to like get whatever goal you need to get. That he uses that a lot, and like
and subterfuge in general.
Yeah.
Pretending that I'm your suitor, I'm not your suitor. Mm-hmm. And they always have a touchstone character.
A clown, yeah. Almost everything. Not.
Well, not in like that. In the happy plays, they always have to be.
I mean, I think virtually every play has a clown. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, not all the tragedies might. I actually don't know.
Well, Hamlet does.
Hamlet has Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, which is a double, but same thing. I mean, like, King Lear has the Fool. Although the Fool in King Lear is, like, very dark and interesting. It's not, it's a weird one. And then there's, like, I don't know that there's one in Othello. I think that's the one I can think of that might not. What?
What about Iago?
Iago's not a fool. He's a villain.
Yeah, but he kind of... Yeah, but I think he's a different villain.
Yeah, I don't think he's like a clown. I think that's different. But like Macbeth has the porter, which is kind of the closest that it has. Who only has really like one scene, but that's what the comic relief is in that show. They show up a lot.
Thanks for watching this episode of Steps to Success. Stay tuned for more. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. Thank you and have a nice day.